Hi there, Shazrin here. So, I see that you want to start investing. Not only can I help you with that, I can also tell you how much you'll probably make. Let's start. First off, let me tell you how this video will work. This video is meant for educational and informational purposes only. Always do your own research before investing in anything. In this video, I'm talking about investments, not trades. So, anything that you can't hold for more than a year and has a high risk of losing in that time period is disqualified. Also, anything that doesn't beat inflation doesn't count as an investment to me. That means high yield savings account, money market fund, certificate of deposits, fixed deposits, and so on and so forth. The returns on this video are in no particular order, but I've made sure to save the highest for last. Be sure to watch till the end to see what it is. The first investment you can make right now is by liking this video. With each like, I'm more likely to make more useful financial content for you so that you can be a financial genius. It's free and you're investing in knowledge so that you can make higher returns for yourself. So go ahead and hit that like button. Now back to the main point. So first up, stocks. Own companies like a boss. For stocks, basically you're buying a part of a company and then investing it. You're buying part of a company and then the company's profits will give you your returns. Profits from stocks come in the form of capital gains and dividends. Basically, dividends are given out by the company, usually quarterly or yearly. So for example, you invest $100 in a stock like Apple. For example, Apple gives out a dividend of 20 cents per share and you own 100 shares, so you get a dividend of $20, for example. That's the form of dividend. Capital gains, on the other hand, is, for example, if you were to buy an Apple stock today, maybe $500. I'm not sure how much Apple costs nowadays. I didn't check before doing this video, okay? And then next year, the price of an Apple share is $600 per share. So if you sell your share now, you'll make a profit of 600 minus 500 equals to $100. So you've made $100 per share of profit. Pretty good. Capital gains and dividends. But the average stocks usually give around 10% annually. We can see this based on the stock market returns. It's about 10%. And if you want to invest in stocks, you can go to a brokerage. For Malaysia, they'll be going through brokerages that sell Malaysian stocks like M+ Online or Rakuten Trade. But for international stocks, you can use eToro or platforms like that. Okay, next one, bonds. Lending money to poor governments and companies. Bonds usually give about 5% annually. I guess it works, it beats inflation. And usually if you want to invest in bonds, you would need a high net worth, because usually bonds minimum investment would be like 10 million or such. So if regular people would want to invest in bonds, they would usually invest in unit trusts or mutual funds that sell bond funds, then invest in those funds, because the minimum amount for these funds would be just 1,000 ringgit instead of 10 million ringgit. Exchange traded funds, ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds, are basically funds that you don't have to go buy at the investment management company. You can just buy them at a brokerage like eToro, for example. So for example, ETFs are the S&P 500 ETF, the gold ETF, the bond ETF, stock ETF. So there are a lot of kinds of ETFs. So to give an average return of all these ETFs, I can't actually give you an exact return because there's too many kinds of ETFs, but I can probably say it's about 10%. ETFs are meant for when you can't decide which to buy. Robo-advisors. So robo-advisors are kind of new, like they have been around for a decade or two, which is relatively new compared to all the other investments that I'm talking about. Robo-advisors are usually meant for people who are too lazy to even do basic research, or maybe don't have time or such. But not that you don't have time. If you don't have time, you can still do other investments that are more profitable. It's just usually people are too lazy or they don't have that much capital, then robo-advisors may just be their thing. So examples of robo-advisors would be Wahid Invest, Stashaway, and such, and they would robo-advisors give around 8% annually. because Robo-advisors, if you don't know what it is basically a robot investing your money in ETFs, which was a investment I just told you about before. So it's basically a middleman between you and the ETF, a robo-advisor. So if you want to cut out the middleman and save some money from fees, just a little, they charge about 0.5 to 1.5% annually. If you want to cut out the middleman, just go invest in the ETF and skip the robo-advisor. But that's just my opinion. It's still up to you whether you want to invest in it or not. And then index funds. So index funds is basically when you want to play it safe. They give around 8% to 9% annually. Depends on the index fund that you're investing in. Index funds that are popular are the index funds tracking the S&P 500. If you don't know what an index fund is, it's basically a fund that tracks a certain index. So for example, it tracks the S&P 500 index. The S&P 500 index is basically an index of the 500 most profitable companies in the US. So if you don't know what stock to invest in and you don't want to use a robo-advisor because you want to cut out the middleman, then index funds could be for you. Usually you can buy index funds on brokerages like eToro, Charles Schwab, Vanguard. So it's up to you. Unit trusts and mutual funds. So this is for when you want to make more profits while still being relatively safe. The average unit trust in Malaysia makes about 9% annually, and if you want to invest in unit trusts, you can either go to the investment company that you want to invest in, or you can go through online sites like FSM1 or eUnit Trust, or you can just find a unit trust consultant like me, because in the end the fees will always be the same unless you find a place where you can get cheaper fees. So if the fees are the same, why not just hire a financial consultant, unit trust consultant like me, because you're still paying the same fees. But if you were to buy it through a consultant like me, you have someone to monitor it for you. You have someone to talk about it, discuss it with you, consult you, rather than just you doing it alone. If you're that good, then sure, do it alone. But if you're not sure, then I'm here. Moving on, private mandate, when you want a private fund manager. So for example, unit trusts and mutual funds, these are basically investments that a lot of people collect their money into a fund, and then the fund is managed by one fund manager. But for private mandates, just one person collects their money, then gives it to a fund manager, just his or hers alone. So you're basically hiring a fund manager to personally manage your investments privately. So those are private mandates. For private mandates, you can either go through the investment companies that you're interested in yourself, or go through a financial consultant like me. Yeah, self-promotion. Okay, I get it. But hey, I'm still teaching. I'm just saying, if you want a financial consultant to help you, I'm here. But if you want to do it alone, go ahead. Just saying. Just so the private mandates that I know of, because they're private, their returns are usually not shared to the public. So it's hard for me to give an average return of all the private mandates that are here in Malaysia. But the private mandate that I know of gives a minimum return of 50% annually. Just saying. So if you're interested in private mandates, maybe those are for you. But the minimum for that private mandate is 50,000. The minimum for a unit trust is far cheaper though, it's 1,000. Now, private placement. Private placement is basically when you want to invest in a company, in a specific company privately, and that company wants to expand using your investment. Usually they give out a lot, like really high. So the private placement that I know of, again, is private, so I don't know the average returns of all the private placements in Malaysia, but the private placement that I know of gives around 18 to 20% annually by selling redeemable preference shares, RPS. So yeah, you can invest in. For private placement, usually you have to be invited by the company, or you can find an agency that sells private placements. An agent of that agency could help you with that. So for example, of an agent, me! Just saying. I do sell private placements, Eco Energy Berhad, just saying. If you're interested. But it's for high net worth individuals. I need to tell you that first, beforehand. It's for those who can invest 100,000 or more, because that's the minimum amount, 100,000 ringgit. And those who are high net worth individuals, like 3 million or above in terms of net worth, Only those kinds of people, sophisticated investors, can invest in private placements. Moving on, private equity. When you want to privately buy any companies to make profits. So that's not yet me, but private equity is basically a private company that has a lot of investors in that company, and that company's purpose is to just buy another company and maybe sell that company or make it worth more in terms of profits. That's the purpose of private equity. It's like venture capital. The investors of the company collect all the money, they search for a company in the markets, maybe even a public company, then they buy that company, maybe, and then make it a private company and then just restructure it to make more profits, usually by selling the company with all the assets it has. I'm not that much of a fan of private equity because the average returns are 15% annually. It's better for me to go to the private placement or private mandates because it also has high fees, but for returns that are lower, it's just not worth it in my opinion. But there are private equities that could make 100% annually or something like that. So it depends on the private equity that you're searching for. Again, I can't find the information to find the average returns. I can't find the information that I need to know about all the private equities that exist, but I can tell it's around 15%. Moving on, real estate. So real estate, you can expect returns of around 10% annually average. This is when you want to be like 90% of millionaires in the world. So if you don't know this is a fact. 90% of millionaires in the world become millionaires through real estate. So how do you invest in real estate? Basically, you buy a house, the house gives you rent, and then the house also gains in value over time. And so the rent is like the dividends of stocks, you get them regularly, and then the capital gains, the increase in value, depends on how good the location of the house is and the condition of the house, of the real estate, kind of like a company's capital gains. So the real estate companies that I know of are in Malaysia is Far Capital, for example. Far Capital, I recommend that. It's basically a property investment company. It looks for cheap properties that have potential to increase in value over time and can be rented out with high profit margin. It can also search for tenants for you. It's not a real estate developer, it's not a real estate agency, it's basically a service that looks for cheap houses, negotiates for cheaper, for more discounts so you can buy them, and they'll look for your tenants and do maintenance for you monthly. So if you're interested in Far Capital, I can help you with that too. Okay, moving on. REITs, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. This is basically like a unit trust for real estate, a fund that invests in stocks or bonds or money market funds managed by an investment company. REITs are also managed by investment companies, but they invest in real estate specifically. For example, there's the Sunway REIT, where the REIT invests in all the real estate owned by Sunway, and their profits are gained through rentals mostly. For example, Sunway Pyramid is a high-class, really expensive mall in Malaysia, and the rents from the tenants of that mall each month will go back to the REIT. So the profits of the REITs are usually from that rental income from the Sunway Pyramid. That's an example of a REIT. So yeah, REITs basically give you about 10%, just like, because after all they do invest in real estate. If you want to buy a REIT, you can just go to eToro and buy it from there. Gold also gives you around 10% annually. It is the only commodity that grows consistently over time. You can see that over 10 years, gold usually doubles in price. To buy gold, you can use apps like HelloGold, for example, or maybe buy some gold funds from eToro, gold ETFs. And lastly, my favorite, the highest of all returns, crypto. So crypto, we can expect average returns of 100%, even though that may actually be far lower than the average, because Bitcoin last year gained 770% and Ethereum last year gained 1,300%. So yeah, the returns from crypto are really high. It is the only thing more volatile than Forex. Only invest in it if you're okay with risk, if you're okay with volatility, going through the ups and downs of the market. But if you're investing like for years, it's not so bad, because sure it's volatile, but in years time, for example, if you're just invested in 5 years, it's almost impossible for you to lose money if you're investing based on the fundamentals. So if you want to invest in crypto, you can use apps like Luno, crypto wallet, or eToro. You can trade crypto there. So now you know the various investments that are ready to make you rich. Those are all the investments that are common nowadays. There are alternative investments like art and collectibles, paintings, Pokemon cards, cars, and such, but I'll talk about that in another video. If you want to start investing now, use my referrals if you want. The links are down below: eToro, Far Capital, HelloGold, Luno. So start investing now, and please like the video. Thanks for liking. If you've been watching me for quite some time, you'll know that this is new gaming chair. I'm probably going to do a video about it soon, about taxes and how to deduct it from taxes, maybe, but we'll see. But that's a thing for another video. So to wrap it up, that's my take. Thanks for your time. Oh yeah, please watch my previous video about the news, Binance ban, Robinhood, and ARK Invest, the latest news. I'm doing it for you, so you don't have to read boring news. I'll do it for you excitingly, with fun elements, maybe. So please, watch it.